Sunday, September 22nd, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Hot today, 85 degrees. Going to be challenging to go through all the hives. Just going to take my time. Plan today is fall preparation. Going to go through every one of these and see how they're doing. I did an apivar treatment about 60 days ago, so each one of these I'm going to take the apivar off and check them. I want to talk about a couple things before I get started. The first thing is I'm going to show you. I made a checklist. I literally this morning walked hive to hive to hive, and I recommend you do this. You know, if you have one or two hives, you really don't have to do this, but it saves you trips going back and forth to the garage. And over here, I have my cart, and on the cart, I have feeders, I have entrance reducers, I have all the things I need from my checklist of equipment that I brought out. So one of the things that I plan to do with each one of these is inspect the hive, see where they're at. And the plan is get them ready for winter. And I want the bees in the bottom box, and I want honey stores up on the top. If you look at this hive right here, you'll notice that it has a feeder on the top. I've been feeding some of these. They've been a little light, and some of them are in good shape, but what I'm going to do is put feeders on every single hive and feed them, and hope is that they'll take the storage up in the top box and push the bees down in anticipation for winter. Now, if I find the bees are in the top boxes for whatever reason, I'm going to rearrange the brood chamber and put all the bees down in the bottom box centered, and then I'm going to feed them over the next couple days, couple weeks to get that honey dome created. And you'll notice for each of my hives, there are two deeps, and if they have a medium on, I'm taking the medium off. I don't like to overwinter with two deeps and a medium. I've done that in the past, and I don't know, for me it doesn't work. I'd prefer to get them down to physically two deeps. Now, some of these boxes behind me are a deep and two mediums and different combinations. Those I'll leave. So I'm looking to put entrance reducers on them. I'm seeing a lot of yellow jackets out in the yard right now. And this is the time of year where yellow jackets, when they get hungry, can come in and start taking down your hives. Now, each one of these hives is the middle of the day. They're in pretty good shape. I see a phenomenal amount of coming and going. And in that direction, probably about a mile away, is a field with about 8-10 acres of goldenrod, and my guess is that's where they're going as I watch them go out and go over. Now, I don't smell the goldenrod, dirty sock odor from these hives. Who knows what they're going after, but they're foraging pretty heavy, and some of the hives have pretty good stores on them. So this is the fall tune-up for me. While it's still warm and you could go in and do inspections, you're going to go through and assess. I'm looking for queen viability, making sure my queens are good. I've already taken one hive down the other end. I have 2 yards, this one here and another one off the far end of the property. It had a queen layer. You could see bullet drones, meaning drones that were laid in worker cells, and they had a bullet shape to them because they were too big for the actual cell. I took that nuke box that I had, it was a double nuke, and I put it into a single 10 frame deep, and then I took that box and combined it with the last one in the row. So if I end up shooting video, you're going to see that there's paper between the boxes, which I use to combine the two. One other thing I want to talk about, this guy right here. These are a pain. Sometimes when you get to these, they don't light, they're out of fuel, you step on them, you crush them. I don't know. They don't do well sometimes when you turn them upside down. Trying something new today. I have this. It's a propane or a butane lighter. And it's really pretty simple. You just flip the on switch, you open the valve to allow the fuel, and you click the button and you have flame. And I'll tell you, that seems pretty easy to me to light a smoker with. Now, they're not cheap. It's a toy, but Santa brought me this, and you know, it's an interesting thing I'm going to try out today. So, all right, let's start with this first hive on pad number 1, and we'll go down and do the inspections and see how we make out today. A little bit of smoke. I see some hive beetles up here. I'm going to mash a couple of them. Yeah, there's quite a few of them, but in relative terms, there's not that many. Half dozen. Oops, there goes my smoker. This hive started from a package, had its problems, got requeened, is rebuilding. About a month ago we put a second box on, and I'm looking through and they have most of this section of the top box built. I see bees in all the seams. I'm just going to take a quick look at what's downstairs and assess, but really the gist of this hive is just feed it right now. Feels relatively heavy, which is good. Decent number of bees here. Scrape a little comb off of the tops real quick before I get it, since I smoked them down. I'm going to put that here. I have a bag that I'm going to put it in. I keep a Ziploc bag. In fact, I just made new ones this morning. I'm just going to do a quick look and make sure that I have a good pattern in here with my queen. Set my frame hanger here. Just set this frame down so it has a place to stay while I peek through the rest of the box. They seem pretty calm. I have some looking at me through the seams, so I just want to get them to go down a little bit. I pulled frame number 9. That's what's hanging on the hanger. They haven't built these frames out very well for winter. That's frame 7. Frame 6, lots of emerged brood. I'm into the brood chamber. Quick look for my queen, make sure she's not here. I have a queen cup on the face, but nothing to worry about. Evidence of eggs and brood in all stages. I like this frame. It's a frame of bees that are coming out. It's about halfway emerged. Another queen cup on the face, but nothing in it. I'm going to take a sample of this. I'm going to make sure I have no queen on here. Taking a little extra time, see no queen. So this is the frame I'm going to sample and check for mites and see how the mite load is. Now this was a new package earlier this year. Shouldn't really have that much of a problem with mites, but should and do you are two different things. So we're going to check it. And I'm just going to set this aside. I'm going to go a little further in here because I want to see a little more of this hive. This hive really needs to be fed though, for it to build fully all the population it needs to go into winter. Another brood frame, looks good. This has got more capped brood, and everywhere there's a hole, the queen is laid. So here I have 2 frames of brood. Let's see if we have another. Probably not. Partially built frame. Not a lot of bees on there. Yeah, this hive just could have done a lot better this year. This is a food frame. It's got pollen on the outside with nectar. There's a lot of bees down this end for some reason, it looks like. Let's see what we have going on here. Another brood frame. I see some newly emerged bees. Not the prettiest frame, but good enough, I guess. So I know I have a queen because I have brood in all stages. Eggs, larvae, capped. Food frame full of pollen all the way through. There's some brood on here. Very few drones in this hive. Did not spot the queen in here either. One more quick look. Okay, so I'm going to do a mite sample on the frame that I pulled out, the brood frame, and we'll see where this hive goes. And then I'll put that other box back. So I'm going to pause you here while I do my sample. Okay, I have double and triple checked that I don't have any queen on this. I'm going to bounce the frame. Boom! All the bees are going to fall off. If there's any forages on here, which I don't think there's a lot of, they'll fly back to the hive. I'll then take my half-cup scoop. I'll get a full half cup and I'll dump it into the Varroa Easy Check that I'm using to take my sample. I have a little tray here. So here we go. I have my bees. I'm going to tap them down, collect them in a corner, get my half cup scoop, full half cup into the sample, close the lid. I'm going to take my container and I'm going to put it over here on my hive and let my bees go back. And all these bees that are flying will go back also. And then I'm going to just shake this container to see if I can dislodge the mites and see where I am as far as my mite sample goes. I'll have my lid on, right? Some days it goes that way. You want to shake this for a good amount of time. If there's any mites, you just don't want to miss getting them off the bees. Every once in a while I give it a swirl, and I'm really shaking it like a cocktail shaker shaking it. Now this colony has been a funny colony all year long. Started as a package, the queen did not do well. They raised a new queen, she came in, but she did not do well. We ended up putting a queen in it and it's built out. And it took a long time, but then all of a sudden when it had its population, it built out. And it went into the second box. That one frame that was in the middle, there were brood frames in 7, 8, 9, and there were brood frames in 2, 3, 4, and in the middle there was an empty. I think I took a foundation frame and pulled a yucky frame out, and that's why that frame was partially built out and the brood nest was divided in the middle. All right, you know, when you get to the point where the liquid is milky from that, I'm just going to let it sit here for a second and settle down, and I'll give it a swirl, and then I'm going to check to see whether or not I have any mites in it. So now what I'm doing is I'm swirling it, and that washes the bees this way and it allows any of the mites to fall through the holes. And I'm holding it up and I'm taking a look. And the good news is I don't see any mites, zero, not a one. I see debris, I see legs, parts, but no mites. I'm just going to take the basket out and look inside the basket and check. No mites. Awesome. That's good. So I'm going to get rid of these bees and I'm just going to continue to go down the road. That's good. Like it when there's no mites in a package hive. That's good news. So it's already got a feeder on it. I'm going to put an entrance reducer on it and I'm going to button it up and feed it later tonight when it gets dark. So one down, the rest of them to go.